Thank you for joining us once again on the State of Freedom.
The State of Freedom is a listener-supported podcast. We're committed to pursuing the truth about policymaking, regulatory actions, and political maneuvers in Louisiana and at the national level that stand to impact your freedoms.
Please support the State of Freedom by becoming a monthly supporter or member of the Warrior Circle, or by advertising your business, your nonprofit, or your event with us. Go to freedomstate.us. We are bypassing the mainstream media cartel and the establishment political parties in Louisiana and coming directly to you, spreading the uncensored voice of freedom across Louisiana and beyond. Tigerland Properties, these are licensed professional realtors in Louisiana, commercial, residential, investments, whatever you choose to do. These people, whether you're buying, whether you're selling, whether you want to invest, these people are the best in the business. They really are. Tigerland Properties, mainly they work in the Boot area of Louisiana, down in South Louisiana, but truly you could not be in better hands if you're buying or selling commercial, residential, or investing than Tigerland Properties. I encourage you to call them 225-320-3004. You'll want to make sure you're in good hands with commercial, residential, real estate, or investment. And they are the best.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the State of Freedom, where we are grounded in faith and the Constitution, and we're committed to giving voice to the truth, living with courage, and taking action. It is Tuesday, March 17th. It's 8 a.m. Central, bright and early, earlier than we're used to being. But we're here. We're here, folks.
Indeed we are. Indeed we are. At least last time I checked.
I'm Danielle Walker, and my co-host and watchdog in chief of Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group is joining me, as always, Chris Alexander. And we are coming to you live on Voice of the People USA TV and Radio Network, on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Hit the notifications button if you would. Get notifications, because we're coming to you bright and early all session long, and we want to make sure that y'all have the latest. And you can also catch us later if you miss us on our audio-only podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We are back in action with session. That's why we're here so early, because Chris has to run down to the legislature. Lots of bills are going to start running at 9 in the committees, so we want to make sure that he can get there. So we're going to try and keep this nice, short, and sweet this morning. Everybody
Punchy
say
and clippy.
Yeah, everybody pray for us, because we have more words than time, as usual.
Right. Well, that's often the case, even when we have plenty of time.
Exactly. We can't control ourselves, but we have to. Today, we're going to be super disciplined, so you may feel like you're getting pelted with legislation, but just imagine how we feel. All right.
Right, there you go.
The scripture for today is Psalm chapter 17, verses 13 through 15, and it says, "Arise, God, and confront them. Challenge them with your might. Free me from their clutches and rescue me from their rage. Throw them down to the ground, those who live for only this life on earth. Thrust them out of their prosperity and into their portion in eternity, leaving their wealth and wickedness behind. As for me, because I am innocent, I will see your face, until I see you for who you really are. Then I will awaken with your form and be fully satisfied, fulfilled in the revelation of your glory in me." And this psalm in my Bible is called A Cry for Justice. And it's an excellent one to be praying right now, because I feel like we're moving from that time of simply crying for justice. And you can tell me if you feel this way, Chris, we're moving from this time of simply crying for justice, and we're shifting into a place where many, many more people are willing to rise up, break off the shackles of our slavery to this world system of darkness, and say, no more. We are fed up with those who somehow have set themselves up as elites and do the work that the Bible clearly defines as the work of Satan, which is stealing, killing and destroying us, stealing from us, killing us, and destroying us. And this passage is not only calling on God to free us to judge and to judge these wicked elites. It's also an encouragement for us to remain in purity and in innocence, and to have a growing revelation of our sonship in the Lord, with an increasing awareness of our resemblance of Him here on earth, of our resemblance of Him right here on earth. So I think that's just absolutely awe-inspiring to sit back and think about the fact that we are becoming, if we are following the Lord, if we're growing in the Lord, we are becoming more and more like Him. We are to look more and more like Him. And if we have an awareness of that, I think it helps us want to stay in purity and in innocence and away from these, the things that might trip us up.
Yeah. And you know what, Danielle? It starts with a few. One of the things that I find awe-inspiring is that uh, when there are a few at the beginning who stand up and walk in righteousness, it truly does have a resonating effect on others. So
Yeah.
when you say we've gone from a point of struggle for justice to a point where we may be close to actually achieving it, I think it's because there are increasing numbers of people who are willing to stand up in courage and face the demons that we face. And that is because it started with a very small nucleus of people with courage. I think courage is infectious,
Yeah.
but it starts with a few, unlike the number of bills that we have to look at for the session. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's a powerful psalm, and I believe that's a psalm of David.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, why don't we start out where we got cut off last week when the angels stopped holding up your Wi-Fi connection and you got unceremoniously cut off. You were talking about Alan Sebaugh's bill, Senator Sebaugh, where he was attempting to remove Bessie from the closed primaries.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because the explanation that Senator Seabaugh offers for trying to do this is to save $5.5 million for the state, with the promise to come back in a future date and not only re-include the Bessie primaries in a closed primary process, but to expand it to include all offices in the state. I don't find the explanation very compelling at all. There are 8 Bessie seats up, and because they're standalone and the other elections will be in the jungle primary, he doesn't want to spend $5 million just on the Bessie seats to do a closed primary. Well, I'm sorry. These are eight of the seats on the board that govern education policy for every student in Louisiana. And we've worked very hard to secure a closed primary system. We want people on the Bessie board who understand the dangers of things like DEI, CRT. We don't want this poison in our schools. You could argue that the most important election in the state regarding closed primaries is Bessie. So the last thing we need to be doing is dismantling it, and the explanations that are being offered are just absolutely atrocious. Go find $5 million in the waste, fraud, and abuse that occurs in this state daily. Go shut down some of the defunct boards that are still getting taxpayer money, and they haven't had a meeting in 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Or how
But this
about this, Chris? How about what if you actually make the legislature have closed primaries like it was promised to us?
like you should have done with Emerson's HB 17 in 2024, I think it was, when
Yeah.
you specifically carved out the legislature, the governor's office, and other offices from the closed primary system. If you would put it all together then, as we asked you to do and you should have done, you wouldn't have this problem with the standalone Bessie election right now. So none of this is convincing. None of it makes any sense. And we're going to fight this very, very hard. We're talking about 8 seats that will govern education policy in this state for our kids for many, many years to come. And we're going to go in and surrender it on a basis of money all of a sudden.
And it
It,
passed, Chris. It passed the Senate Governmental Affairs unopposed.
it passed Senate Governmental Affairs, although when it was called for a vote, nobody wanted to be the first one to put a vote forward on it because it was so radioactive and it's so unpopular. So Chairman Kleinpeter then did so and then asked, does anybody have any objections? And nobody would object. So they sat up there basically just completely mum. They wouldn't support the bill, but then they wouldn't oppose the bill. So it passed by default out of the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee, onto the Senate floor, and then onto the House. But everybody is going to know what this actually does, and they're going to be able to see through the nonsense that's being used to justify it.
Yeah, and we got to move on, but I do want to mention I was opining on Thursday after you got cut off as to whether this was a campaign promise of anyone who's involved in this, and whether this is just a mechanism where they set up the closed primaries and called for the closed primaries and then systematically began dismantling them after they realized it was not to their political advantage. And yes, in fact, it was one of Jeff Landry's promises. It was a campaign promise, and it was something he started lobbying for shortly after assuming the governorship. So I think that's just notable.
So he should absolutely be opposed to this. The last point I need to say on this, Danielle, the only people who really oppose this legislation or who support this legislation are generally people who are either not going to be running in a Bessie district or Republicans who are not constitutionally conservative and don't understand the importance of electing truly conservative candidates in our primaries. And so it's very revealing in that sense also.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to what happened yesterday, Chris. I know you went and testified in the House Transportation Committee, and there were two bills there that we were following. Do you want to just briefly mention
Very,
them?
very briefly, and this to me reemphasizes the importance that we need to start doing a segment of the 5 best bills of the legislative session and the 5 worst bills of the legislative session, because both of these would probably go in the top 5 worst. Dixon McMakin, HB 777. Danielle, how long have you been driving? 25 years you've been driving.
Okay.
And you go in and renew your driver's license, and you get to take a written exam, either online, or you get to sit there and do a written driver's exam before you can renew your driver's license. What in the world are we doing here? Fortunately, that bill was deferred in House Transportation yesterday. I didn't testify on it because it was deferred voluntarily, which means he can bring it back. Hopefully, he'll be wise and not bring it back. Dixon McMakin, horrible bill. And then Mike Bayham he had a bill that would penalize people who are walking across a crosswalk and looking at their phone when they're walking across a crosswalk. They could be ticketed for that. I mean, you talk about big brother government, and I told Mike, I said, Mike, I'm surprised that you're the one who's bringing this bill. I know you know who John Stuart Mill is. This is not the role of government. It's not the role of government to micromanage every dumb decision every citizen makes every day. It's not the role of government, and you know that. Fortunately, the bill was voted down in committee, so they agreed with us. Rodney Schamerhorn was the first one to say, sorry, I can't support this bill. And then it was a domino effect from there. So that one died, and the other one hopefully is in the process of dying.
Well, good. And I just want to say on Bayham's bill, car horns work, man. Just if somebody is irritating you because they're on their cell phone walking through the crosswalk, just honk your horn at them. We don't need to ticket them. We don't need to cuff them. Just give them a nice scare, wake them up, and say, hustle on.
Hustle on through. Hustle on through.
All right. Speaking of hustling on through, today, there's so much going on, folks. Absolutely so much. This morning in the Senate, Judiciary C, 9 a.m., room F for anybody who is available to go down and testify. There are a number of important bills. There's 2, I believe, Chris, that we're going to talk about here this morning. The first, probably one of the most important bills of session. Senator Valerie Hodges loves to bring some of the most important bills of session. She's great at that. SB 200, it's important for Homeland Security. Chris, would you talk about this?
If you are a foreign adversary as listed on our State Department's website, the United States Department, China, Iran, other countries, and you own immovable property within 50 miles of a military installation in Louisiana, we reserve the right to expropriate that property from you. How many Louisiana citizens, Danielle, do you think would oppose this legislation in light of the threats that our state and our country face from foreign adversaries who want to destroy us? I would say probably not one Louisiana citizen who has not been confined to a psychiatric institution would oppose this legislation. Yet it died last year with Comrade Greg Miller in Jude A. Hopefully it will meet with a different fate. This year we are on it like a hawk. We have sent emails to the committee members expressing exactly how we feel on this legislation. This bill simply closes a critical gap in our security posture in Louisiana. It's got to be passed, and I want to know, I will know because I'll be there, which Republicans in particular vote against this bill.
Well, you know, Chris, last session, and this sad refrain of looking for, you know, a solution, searching for a problem. I think the last 2 years, really, but the last year in particular has proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that this is a genuine risk, that this is genuinely happening, and this is not a solution in search of a problem, some fake ethereal problem that Senator Hodges has just made up. So I hope the legislature gets on board with this.
Absolutely, and you know, I expect and absolutely hope that it will move through Senate Judiciary this morning with no problems. And
Yeah.
you know, but believe me, we will be noting if there are.
Yeah. Yes, we will. All right. Next is Senate Bill 97 by Senator Jay Morris. This is a bill that we are opposing, Chris, and it's really comes down to a constitutional question.
Absolutely. You know, the right to a jury trial was given to us in the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution by our founding fathers to protect someone who's accused of a crime against the government. Because it allows him to be tried by a jury of his peers. Thomas Jefferson said trial by jury is the last anchor and only perpetual hope by which a government can be held to the principles of its constitution. Trial by jury. It's a fundamental right. It belongs only to a criminal defendant. And so if that right belongs only to a criminal defendant, the right to waive a jury also belongs only to a criminal defendant. This bill would require the state to give a defendant permission to waive the jury. And there may be cases where a defendant could be charged with something that a jury may not understand fully. He may think a jury may have a lot of prejudice over and maybe not be able to look at the evidence objectively. So he chooses to waive a jury and try it to a judge. That is his right. It is a right that vests in him. It's not a privilege granted by the government. That's why this is a very important bill, and that's why we're opposing this legislation that would require a prosecutor to give a defendant permission to waive a jury trial. We just think it's wrong, unconstitutional, and unwise.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Next, also this morning in the House is House Commerce Committee meeting, which is a notoriously fraught committee. They're meeting at 9:30 in room 1. Hopefully there'll be some people that are able to be there to support some of these bills. Chris, have you heard by chance, do you know if anyone from Treasurer Fleming's office is able to go and testify on any of these?
I don't know. I haven't heard on that. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them's there. I seriously doubt that it will be Treasurer Fleming himself because he's in 60 days out of an election in a
Yeah.
U.S. Senate campaign. But maybe there will be someone there from the treasurer's office. If not, you know, Raymond Cruz is very, very polished, and I have no doubt he'll be able to advocate for his bill very effectively. But we certainly intend to be there, and if we can, we're going to testify on this bill also, and certainly put in a green card. We've already notified the committee members that we support this legislation, and basically what it does, Danielle, it just creates a totally voluntary framework for the investment of gold and silver. You know, in transactions, it's voluntary, transparent, and secure alternative to the steadily devaluing fiat dollar, which many prognosticators say, you know, is going to end up losing all of it, if not most, if not all, of its value. So this is a structure whereby an individual Louisiana citizen would be able to invest voluntarily in gold and silver in banking institutions that choose to accept it. So we don't need to worry about having the banking cartel sitting at the committee table this morning complaining that they're being obligated to do anything that they don't want to do. It is purely voluntary. And those banks and those institutions who choose to accept it will be recognized as Bayou Gold under the bill, which is why the bill is titled what it is. But I think it's very, very good. It's a step, certainly a big step in the right direction to enable and to encourage people, quite frankly, to invest in gold and silver because we're in a very, very perilous economy with the fiat dollar.
Yeah, Chris, and I just really appreciate that he's taking a completely different tack this go round. I mean, he got slammed down twice by this committee already.
For what we just talked about,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And I don't have the greatest confidence in this committee's ability to understand economics at the most basic level, but hopefully this will be something that they can get on board with. So everyone, if anybody's able to go and support Rep. Cruz on this bill, I think he would appreciate the backup. I
No
know,
question about it. And he
yeah,
deserves it.
he does deserve it. A bill that we're opposing in House Commerce this morning, Chris, is House Bill 947 by Representative Sean Mina. It is about the government assuming the role of somehow taking what they view to be abandoned digital assets. And this is such an affront to basic property rights.
It really is. So you have your digital assets, Danielle. What is it? So you're investing in crypto, maybe,
Yeah,
and
Bitcoin, even
Bitcoin,
you
crypto,
could, what if it's even digital gold and silver, right?
or digital gold and silver, and you have it in an account, and you're waiting. You're deliberately waiting until there's a spike in the value or the price of your Bitcoin, and maybe it's 7 or 8 years down the line before that occurs, and so you're deliberately waiting. So you're not doing anything. You're not managed. I mean, you're not doing anything in your account. Well, this bill says that if after a 3-year period there's no activity on your account, then the state can assume control of your assets just for safekeeping. Okay, they can't do anything with it for safekeeping, and they have to keep it in original form for 3 years. But after 3 years, if you still from that point, so then it's 6 years if you haven't done anything with it, then the state can sell it, and they still have to keep the money that they get from selling your Bitcoin in case you one day return to get your money. But say after the state has sold your Bitcoin for $100,000, say, you look at the Bitcoin market and say, finally, now's the time. It's gone up. I'm going to go sell my Bitcoin because I can get $1 million for it. You go look, it's not there anymore. It's not there. The treasurer has reclaimed it. So you go to the treasurer's office and say, look, my Bitcoin, what'd you do? It's worth $1 million now. I want my Bitcoin so I can go cash it in. The state says, well, we already cashed it in. We got $100,000 for it. Here's your $100,000. So basically, 90% of the value of your Bitcoin at that point is compromised because of the state took control of your money. That's the problem. The state never gets to keep what is yours, but the state's actions on your asset could devalue it, and then you are out money. I don't think this government has any right ever to interfere with a private transaction and come in and inject itself into that relationship or assume control of anything that belongs to you. That's why we have a problem with this bill. If you want to go 50 years and not do anything with your Bitcoin, that is your choice. The government does not have the right to assume control of what is yours. That's why we oppose this bill.
It's revenue harvesting, it's government overreach, it's an affront to private property rights. And Chris, one thing that you and I discussed is they're trying to treat this as if it's a blighted property on a main throughway on very valuable property that could be used for something useful. The digital assets are not taking up any space that's hurting anybody. I mean, ostensibly you're paying whatever fees as part of having your account. So the government needs to stay out of it.
That's exactly what Katie said. She said they're treating this like this is some beat up house on the corner that's an eyesore for everybody to look at. That's not the case at all. And so there really is no justification. Well, you know what? The original basis, Danielle, for this right to reclaim is so that the owner of the property is not taken advantage of by anybody who's managing the property. So if it's completely unclaimed, then the person who's managing it can then take it to himself and do whatever he wants with it. But that is a relationship between the owner and the person they choose to have managing it. I
That's
don't
right.
believe the government has a role in this.
That's right. I mean, it's a personal risk you take whenever you are working with a particular company to manage your assets, and then you can have legal recourse if they do something with your funds. I mean, dealing with the government is completely different.
Exactly.
All right, the last bill in House Commerce today is another one that we are opposing. I was absolutely gobsmacked by this bill, Chris. I don't know about you, but this is Neil Reiser's bill that would basically seemingly unilaterally increase interest rates that lenders can charge.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about small to moderate size consumer loans, anywhere from a couple of 3,000, 5,000, up to $20,000. They already have the ability to charge enormous interest rates on these loans. I mean, I think right now, for up to 5,000 or so, or it's 36% interest that they can charge on those small 36%
Come
interest.
on.
This would take it up to I think around $20,000. So if you borrow up to 20,000, then the lender can charge 36% interest on those things. This is I think crippling to Louisiana families who are already struggling, who have to take out a small to moderate size loan, and this would allow lenders, the lending cabal, to increase interest rates even more on struggling families. And I looked at this and said, no possible way that we're going to support this.
And Chris, how many of Neil Reiser's constituents do you think would be for this? I mean, this is a bill that is squarely benefiting the banks over the people.
No
No, that
question. Neil Reiser, Danielle, is from it's not a wealthy parish. He doesn't represent a wealthy district up in North Louisiana where he's from. And so I would imagine that they would look at this and say, what WTH?
yeah. And whose side are you on?
Exactly. Who are you fighting for?
Yeah, and Chris, I know we're going to be trying to get you out of here soon, so I'm just going to highlight a couple other bills that I want people to be aware of. Tomorrow in House and Governmental Affairs at 9 a.m., we need as big of a contingency of people as possible. There are some treacherous bills going in there. There's some decent ones as well. But the one that I just want to bring to light, Chris, is what we have dubbed the single most evil bill of session, and that is House Bill 842 by Representative Bo Boye. It's something like a 70-something page bill, or is that right? 70-something
It's
page
long,
bill.
very
It's
long.
super long, and maybe 40-something page bill. Yeah, 40, somewhere in the 40s. But it is dubbed something that is going to be an election code update, which, set off red flares everywhere whenever we saw that. And of course, as expected, buried deep into this bill are some really, really nasty provisions. Do you want to walk through them real quick?
The big problem with it is that the Secretary of State already at this point has unilateral, virtually unchecked authority when it comes to the purchasing, the acquisition of this new $100 million computer-based voting system, because the legislature is not exercising any oversight over her. This bill would give her the same degree of authority when it comes to the handling, the movement, and the access to all of this equipment once it's purchased. So she doesn't have any checks or balances on who she chooses, what vendor or what company she chooses to handle all of this equipment, or who has access to all of these computers once they're purchased. There's something in this bill about basically she can do whatever she wants without regard to methodology. And you know what that basically means? That means the Secretary of State can do whatever she wants to do. So this is not about the purchase of the computers. This is about the handling, the storage, the warehousing of the computers once they are purchased. And this gives her complete total control over that process
That's
with
the rest of the
virtually,
corruption chain.
yes, the rest of the chain. And you know what this goes to, Danielle? This goes to, when you're talking about who has access to them, she's basically trying to say nobody will ever have an opportunity to look inside of these computers to figure out what's going on, because I'm never going to grant the authority for anybody to do it. They're going to be under lock and key. And that's what this bill does.
Yeah. And Chris, I don't know if you mentioned this, but it also gives her standing to contest the election results.
Oh, so if someone exclusive standing, right, Danielle? To
I don't know
I
if
think
it's
so.
exclusive.
If somebody sues her, if somebody contests the election results, I think that the bill gives her the right to sue them. The very last part of the bill, I've not looked at that closely because I was so dumbfounded by the complete control that she's going to have over the warehousing and the handling of these
Yeah.
computers, that no one's ever going to be able to look at them. And she doesn't have to do any kind of competitive bidding at all when it comes to who is going to be handling these computers. Do you understand, Danielle? If you're handling these computers, if you're the one warehousing them, if you're the one who's close to these, who's going to have access to these computers?
It's not only corruption in terms of the voting system, Chris. It's corruption in terms of our tax dollars, because you can bet that the companies that have been selected to do this, that have been doing this for years, are somehow embedded nefariously in our government. I have no doubt about that, because they have fought tooth and nail to make sure that nobody questions the storage of these machines. The other thing I would just want to bring out quickly is that it also creates a recurring exemption from the mandated annual voter roll canvass. So we fought really hard to get an annual voter roll canvass, and now she's creating the circumstances under which she could never ever actually have to implement that.
In other words, you would think our Secretary of State would be absolutely eager and determined to conduct an annual canvass of our voter rolls to see who is on there legitimately and who is not. But this bill gives her the flexibility to not do the annual voter roll canvass in
Yeah.
Louisiana.
Yeah, and just a reminder, this is tomorrow in House and Governmental Affairs. There's several other bills that you'll be interested in. We'll try and cover them tomorrow morning if we can. And Donna in the chat is asking who's sponsoring that bill. It is the chairman of the committee, Representative Bo Boye. And Chris, I believe, have you sent him a message yet telling him that
Uh,
if he doesn't get this fixed, it's going to be nasty?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. And then I just want to mention as well, tomorrow, a call for all Maha moms. Please turn out if you can, if you have the ability in any way to show up tomorrow to Senate Health and Welfare at 9 a.m. Senator Mike Facey has a couple bills. I'll just run through the names of them. One is SB 36. It would prohibit, it's a prohibition on mRNA vaccines in food. All food, including, I believe, all meat products and vegetable products, or maybe all food completely. His SB 152 is a prohibition on cell cultured food, that is the lab grown meats and eggs. His bill is okay. Is it Senator Weibel, Chris, or Representative Weibel?
Representative Rep
Okay, we,
Weibel.
we like Weibel's better, but we'll take what we can get in terms of getting this thing moving, and he can always amend it as it goes. And then the last one is of great importance to me. This is getting the fluoride out of the water, SB4. He needs to amend it so that it would be effective immediately upon signature of the governor. Right now, as it stands, he would continue to let us be poisoned until January. So hopefully that won't happen, but we do need to get those passed. So that is what is up today and tomorrow that we will be following. Chris, I know you are needed to head out of the door here soon and get down there. But I just want to make another plug for people going to show up. So this week, it's incredibly important if you can get down to the Capitol tomorrow for the election-related bills, for and for the Maha bills. Today, if you have the possibility to get there, it's Homeland Security bills and the commerce bills, gold and
Yeah.
silver, digital assets.
And reach out to us if there's any time that you want to go and you feel a little intimidated. Sometimes people feel intimidated about going down there, Danielle, and being around, powerful politicians and so forth, and they don't know exactly how to navigate the terrain. So reach out to us, Chris at lacag.org or Danielle at freedomstate.us anytime, and we'll be glad to show you around. Be glad to help you in any way you need. You don't have anything to be intimidated about. Believe me, if there's any place on earth where you should never feel intimidated, it's there. And so just know that, and we could always use your help and your encouragement. And thank you for listening to us and supporting us.
Yeah, and two more quick things. A big call to action. We understand next Tuesday, Representative Mike Johnson's bill, HB 7, the one that would repeal eminent domain for carbon capture, is going to be heard in House Natural Resources Committee. We need as many people, as many butts and seats as humanly possible, as many people testifying in favor of that bill as possible. So please try and make a plan to get there. That's next Tuesday. I'm sure it's in the morning. Those committees are usually in the morning. But we will let you know when we find out about a time. And then tomorrow's Warrior Wednesday. If you have not joined the Warrior Circle, please do that. You can do it at join.freedomstate.us. We would love for you to support us and to be part of us. And we will be having a fantastic local attorney, Jeff Wittenbrink, with us. And we're just going to not tell you why quite yet, because I think he's got a big announcement that's coming out today.
Indeed it is, Danielle. Indeed it is. It's exciting to be in this fight. It's a glorious fight to be in. What a privilege to be alive. What a privilege to know that we were born for a time such as this.
Amen, Chris. Well, God bless you. Be safe and Godspeed, Chris. Is it the guy, Captain? The guy who's the head of CENTCOM, he says that at the end of all of his briefings, Godspeed. So since you're going into the war zone, Godspeed.
Thank you, Danielle. God bless.
God bless.
Blanco Brothers has been in business in Louisiana for about 30 years now. I have personal experience with this company, and I know others who have as well. If you have a business or a home and you've got roofing, gutter, sheet metal issues at all, one number you need to know, and that's Blanco Brothers Construction. He will treat you right financially, and he will take very good care of you with regard to the quality of the service that he provides. I cannot recommend Blanco Brothers Construction more highly enough. Memorize the number 225-226-4222. Blanco Brothers Construction, the very best in the business. Fuego, it's just unbelievable. Whether it's the flame-grilled carne asada or a signature mango margarita, I had one of those too. They're serving up a literal feast of freedom at Calle Fuego. It's just extraordinary. I love the owners, Andres and Jose. They run such a great restaurant. The service is extraordinary. The atmosphere is great. So if you're in Pineville in the Alexandria area or passing through, or if you live there, go to Calle Fuego and tell them the State of Freedom sent you.
Thanks for joining us today on the State of Freedom. Any follow-up actions, resources, and links to our sponsors will be in the show notes. All calls to action can be taken at lacag.org. That's LACAG.org.
To learn more about our work, become a monthly subscriber, supporter, or advertiser at freedomstate.us. The State of Freedom, the #1 conservative podcast in Louisiana.